Greetings. Welcome to Guiding Stars for October. I'm Rose Marcus, and I'm here with the very lovely Kristin Fontana, and we're here to enlighten you on your journey with evolutionary astrology. Hello, Kristin.
Hey Rose, welcome back everybody. Ooh, it's fall in the north and I'm feeling it and all the leaves are turning color here. What about you?
Oh yeah, the fall air, it's crisp, it's beautiful, and it's just a glorious time to go for walks.
It's my favorite season by a mile. And I don't know. I love all the holidays in the fall. So, and the winter. But yeah, and so for those of you in Australia, I know this is your spring. So, oh my goodness, that's a beautiful time of year as well. But we have, wow, just come through some very big transits. And
Oh.
before we get started on those, I mean, we just stepped out of a pair of eclipses, but before we get started, we just want to remind everybody that we are having a conference, a virtual conference, October 23rd to the 26th. So you could be in your pajamas and come. No one would even know. Bring your tea, your coffee, whatever it is that you like to sip on. And we're all going to be there teaching this incredible work of evolutionary astrology. And we have a very special Sunday of asteroids, which Rose is going to be sharing on Ceres. But we have Vesta, we have a Isis lecture, one on Damon, the Damon Soul by Stacy Pazura. And I'm missing, oh, of course, Jordan Smith is actually speaking on a different day, but she's doing a lecture on Lucifer. So that is going to be big and good and wow, informative.
And
So
Kristin, what's your lecture?
I'm speaking on Uranus on transformational trauma. And the reason being is we are each taking a planet or an asteroid and speaking to something specific about that archetype linked with evolutionary astrology. And so my talk on Uranus is about how a couple of souls survive something very traumatic and how they're doing today. Sometimes, we'll hear stories that I don't know, for me at least, this was a story that took my breath away. That's Uranus. I mean, it's a story I could not even imagine surviving myself emotionally. But we've all been through things that aren't easy. And so I wanted to talk about this story because of how these souls have pulled through something so intense. And really, the first question that I received from the mother was why, why, why me? Why my daughter? Why did we have to endure this and experience this? That was her question. It wasn't coming from a victim perspective, like poor me, but why? I need to know why so this never happens again. So I think, that is a really important message in this work. Nothing is random. And so when we get rattled or things happen, it wakes us up in a way that asks or has us asking these deeper questions. So I was happy that she came forward and wanted to know some of the deeper intentions behind it. So we're excited about this conference, and Love 10 is a 10% off if you want to sign up. And can you show the screen there, Rose? We do have a a banner here. Well, there we are, but
Yeah,
we'll give you a
it's
little more here. To learn
yeah,
more
yeah.
about all of the different lectures, I mean, look at all of our incredible speakers. We have so many incredible talks happening. You can see the lineup and the lecture titles and some write-ups about what these speakers are preparing for this conference. So hope to see you guys there. You can go to jwgaea.org to sign up. You can also attend a select number of lectures if you prefer to do it that way, and you have certain ones that you want to make sure you don't miss. So, all right.
Can't wait.
Me too.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Uh, Rose is like, what's going on between now and the end of September? Well, I was sitting there trying to figure out what to write in my newsletter, and I called it the drift within emerging pathways because we are in the drift. We're in the hangover effect of the eclipses. So I called it the eclipse hang time for those sports fiends. in basketball when somebody's up in the air trying to do a slam dunk, Rose. That's called hang time. You know that, right? Well, we're in the middle of some hang time energetically, which just means what do we do now with what just happened? Or, yeah, how do we move forward on the heels of this eclipse period? Because for some of us, it's been life-changing, I think. And I want to share this too, because I always love to share good news. But I received not just today, but yesterday, two pieces of incredible good news from two women that have been in so much stress trying to find jobs. They're both in New York City. They're both brilliant, and they both really needed to get a job, and they didn't get the jobs that they thought they were going to get time and time again. And this has been going on, Rose, for months. And so I said, "Hey God, Mars is squaring Pluto, just coming through the square to Pluto. Show me something good. Tell me something good." Who sings that? Tell me something good. Damn, whatever. Who sings that? I need to hear something good, God, because I'm hearing a lot of hard stories right now, and I got two giant yeses. I got the job from two incredible women who really needed to get those jobs. So I'm not going to give them a shout out by name because I didn't ask them if I could do that, but I'm celebrating both of you today. Hooray. So if those of you out there you guys have some good stories to share, please email us and let us know. Because eclipses, sometimes they can be hard, they can be rattling, but they can also be new beginnings. So congratulations to you both. All right. That's what I want to say for the
Yeah,
end of
and
September.
I was also going to say that we are on the backside of the eclipses, the solar eclipse that just happened on the 21st of September. And as I've mentioned in many of our presentations, that eclipses are effective over a duration of time, right? And eclipses um, happen there, the relevancy of the sun and moon to the nodal axis, the transit of the nodal axis. And the nodal axis is moving through this 18-month cycle in Virgo Pisces, south node in Virgo, the north node in Pisces, and this has been ongoing. And I just think with the demonstration of that Jimmy Kimmel event that happened, right, all of that taking place, this is, bringing something to full awareness. That was around the time of the lunar eclipse, which, brings
Yeah.
it out into the open. And here is, Virgo archetype, South Node in Virgo, the crises point here. And it's just what I was saying is like about your two people that you spoke about not getting the job that they thought they were getting, but getting something else. This is this whole dynamic of the Virgo Pisces mutable signs. Things are moving. They're not very well nailed down, and they're kind of moving along. They're bouncing around a little bit, and that's a very uncomfortable feeling to be in when you're needing to take care of survival, when things are really important, when it's on the line for you, and it's this up in the air, this floating matter here. But this picture is quite brilliant. If you just sit still for a moment here, it's a recalibration, I think. It's like the whole thing that happened with Kimmel, now he's out indefinitely. And then it's the feedback that you get in the moment, of the whole experiential track and all of that information coming in that is informing and that makes the shift. Pisces, the North Node in Pisces is about examining all the variables, all the potentials, all the things that are floating out there. It could be this or it could be that, or maybe it's this direction, or maybe it's that direction, or, all of that. The South Node is uncovering, uncovering, uncovering. But the South Node in Virgo is elimination program. So here we have this like splat moment with the Kimmel thing going on there. And rather than that being permanent, it opened up something that required discussion, that required analysis, that required an adjustment, right? And so this is sitting there going, okay, where is this at? What's the evaluation piece of this? Venus happens to be in the sign of Virgo, aspecting that south node by a completion or balsamic aspect right now. So there's some unresolved or unfinished or so on. And we allow these variables, the Pisces part of it's going to present all the variables. But just as quickly as those variables are there, they can disintegrate or disappear if they are not the ones that have enough life force to continue, right? And so it's like, the times when you say, thank God that didn't happen because look at where I am now, right? And because this is unfolded for me, and that's a really better path than the one that I wanted to choose a little while ago, right?
Yeah.
So I just think that that we are in this time here where just sitting still and pausing for a little bit here reminds me of the Two of Swords. This image reminds me of the Two of Swords in the tarot cards as well too. It's a perfectly uh, uh, balanced image that when that card comes up, I always say that there's no pull one way or another. Just sit with it because that's it's necessary to just sit until the momentum, until the compelling force starts to energize, and then we're on the road with the next track.
Yeah, I think you said recalibration, and
Mhm.
it is right now, especially between now and I would even say, whew, um, people are going to say, what? But the middle or 13th of October, which we will talk about, I even feel like there's still a lot of adjusting happening. And we will get specific on our lineup of transits here. But Mars just pulled through a square to Pluto, and Mars is in Scorpio, which is ruled by Pluto. And this is a course correcting transit. And so if you're off course or there's any kind of karmic content, it's going to poke, it's going to sting, it's going to inflare. And in my examples with these two women, one of them is an Aries and is not very patient, by the way. So, but the first two jobs that said no, and she went through many interviews to get to the very last door. I said, please just be patient, be patient. I mean, think about it, everybody. We've got Saturn and Neptune who they both entered Aries this year, March, Neptune, and May, Saturn. Now Saturn's back into Pisces. Neptune's going to be back into Pisces, but there's all this, you're hovering between two worlds, between the past, the future. You're still test driving things, getting more information. And this job offered more money by a mile than both of them because she was patient. And it
Mhm.
was a better fit. It is a better fit. And I know it's hard to be patient. I'm not patient, but that was a message that I had to keep delivering. Don't give up on yourself. And none of us don't ever give up on yourself. So what we do is we come back to our center under these days right now ahead, the reverberating effect of the eclipse 29 Virgo. What needs to be adjusted in your own vibration, your own frequency, your own thought patterns? What needs to be cleaned up right now? Don't even allow a negative thought to enter your brain waves or to park itself on the couch of your mind. Do not let yourself let it stay there. You remove it. You open the door and let it go. This is so important right now. It's got to be positive, not it's focusing on what you have, not what you don't have. By focusing on what you have, then it creates space. And like in this image, she's opening her heart, she's opening her soul to the vast potential. Pisces, North Node in Pisces, the vast potential of what's possible. It's unlimited what's possible. So that's what this time is about, adjusting.
Adjusting, absolutely. And I think on this page, yeah, here's our list of planetary movements for the month of October. We're starting out on October 1st with Juno leaving Scorpio and entering into Sagittarius. And Juno is the contract asteroid. And what I always say about Juno, this is where Juno in Scorpio is really has taken us through a chapter of self-examination, and now Jupiter entering into Sagittarius, we can go exploring, But wherever Juno is, it is about making a full commitment, and as it is traveling through the sign of Sagittarius, then it is making a full commitment to truth, because that's Sagittarius, to the beliefs that you hold, to the envisioning that you have for the future. But, Kristin, you just said something really important a moment ago, is that the Virgo end of things is keep it real. And, if you
Yeah.
are constantly chasing the potential, then you may be not working with the reality base as it's needed to be worked with, and that can get that boat going way off angle. But anyway, that's Juno, and I think it's also on the 1st, yeah, on the last of the month here of September 1st. Mercury is in square to Jupiter as well too, and we'll talk about that. But we've had the Mars-Pluto that you just mentioned turning a corner, and Mercury is the ruling planet of the south node. So Mercury, wherever it's traveling right now, has more than the usual potency. Mercury is all about communication and the mind and how you think and how you connect the dots and so on. So I always think that sometimes because Mercury's a fast mover, we give it less credence. But of course, all the planets are important, But here we have Mercury just surpassing a square to Jupiter, which is action oriented. It's giving it the opportunity right here from the 1st of the month, and from the 1st of October right through the full moon on the 6th of October. There's some action over the first few days of the month. Pallas Athena, which is in the sign of Aquarius, which rules social and political things, ends retrograde on the 4th. Mercury enters Scorpio on the 6th on that full moon. Venus enters Libra on the 13th. As you can see, the 13th, we're going to show you the chart in a bit here. We have Pluto ending retrograde on that day as well too, and more, as you can see on the screen. But we always watch when these planets are moving along. In the month of October, we have Pluto ending retrograde and Neptune Neptune retrograde backing up into Pisces. So those are two major outer planets in motion here, and so on. There's some runs of stars over the entire month. We'll talk about those as we go along. Anything you want to say there, Kristin?
Yeah, I mean, we just came through again. If I haven't or I'll restate it again if I haven't said it enough. With Mars squaring Pluto, I mean, really pay attention to what was up for your soul in the last few days, even. This is, we're talking about the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, because Mercury is now entering Scorpio in the same place where Mars just left. So it's the same territory, and it's squaring Pluto. So Mars will enter Scorpio and square Mercury, the ruler of the transiting south node in Virgo, will come into Scorpio and square Pluto, the ruler of Scorpio, just like Mars just did. So whatever has been happening the last 3 or 4 days will come back again if it's not finished around the 6th on the day of the full moon. It's another inflaming energy, and it's Scorpio. So it's really about exposing something either you're not looking at or seeing, or something that you've brushed under the rug that you do need to deal with and confront. So these are not light energies. There are some much better energies coming, but it's okay. It's like anything. I don't know. It's kind of like when you're a kid and you've got dinner in front of you and you got to eat the peas first before you get to the good stuff. Like eat your vegetables first before you get to the dessert. I mean, honestly, this is kind of one of those trends. In my opinion, it's not super comfortable on the way into October.
Well, yeah, and I just had an experience as well too with family members, and something got exposed that was like, oh, that is quite distasteful. Isn't that? But what is there is a real opportunity to correct it, to fix it, something that has been overlooked or not seen for where it was at, or something that needs to be addressed. And I think that the transits for the start of October and we're still in the throes of that eclipse here.
Yeah.
That is very productive. It's corrective, and this is getting motion going with that Mars Pluto that you talked about, and with Mercury now squaring Pluto as well too, after squaring Jupiter. We've got actionable, and I think a lot of my clients have been asking me the same thing as yours. And I always say people want to throw tomatoes at me when I say patience, my dear, but it's been long and drawn out. And these triggers that are here at the first of the month that are setting up for that full moon in Aries on the 6th are getting the action going, getting that movement going, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I just want to add one more thing about Mercury in Scorpio squaring Pluto. And even just recently, these are themes around trust,
trust. Yeah,
misapplied trust. Who can you trust?
yeah.
And you want to start with trusting yourself with what you intuit, what you're feeling about something. So to really pay attention to what you're inwardly feeling and intuiting. So trust yourself. But this transit will show you who can be trusted and who cannot. I mean, it's an important thing in life to know that. So I don't, I just wanted to mention that because with the full moon, I mean, these things are not hidden anymore. They do come to light. So, but trust yourself. And so here's the full moon.
Yeah.
We've got Mercury squaring Pluto, and wow, I do have to mention Mars at 10 Scorpio. It's trining my favorite asteroid, Amazon, the female warrior. It's having the courage to address what has surfaced under the full moon or the Mercury square. Rose, like in your family situation, when you have to have conversations that are uncomfortable, but you can't look away anymore, right? Whatever it might be. So let's be warriors under this transit, because we always feel better when things are addressed, and so we will have the opportunity to do that. We can see the transiting Venus has just come across the South Node, the past. This is about our relationships with people, maybe with someone you thought you could trust, and Venus rules the Sun in Libra there. So yeah, let's be warriors. Let's try and bring these bonds back into balance as well. And it can be very deepening. It can be very definitely very bonding if we can get everything out on the table, and we'll all feel better if we talk about it instead of not talking about it. So that's my suggestion.
Well, and uh, to the 6th, Mercury is moving through Libra, right? And Libra is its ruling planet is Venus, and Venus is in the sign of Virgo here, which is uncovering, things that haven't been addressed yet. And to the 3rd of October, that Venus is behind the South
Mm.
Node, which means that it is in a very potent place. As you see on the full moon, as of the 3rd, Venus has moved forward. So now it's into a new implementation, as Mercury has made its way through the square to Jupiter, moving forward. And the square to Jupiter from Mercury in Libra, that Jupiter in Libra is putting the attention on, again, safety, security, finding that emotional self-consistency, all of, what's my comfort zone? Where's my comfort zone at? And Mercury, as it has squared Jupiter, has been saying, I need to address all of that, right? Mercury's been forming oppositions to the Aries stuff. This is Sedna and Chiron. And as Mercury, just in leaving Libra, making an opposition to both of those planets. I love the fact that you can see that Mars in trine to the Amazon, because that Mercury triggering Eris, the goddess of discord, that says, I'm not satisfied here. What about me? I need to address my needs. And Chiron in Aries, Chiron asks you to be a warrior. It asks for some maverick stuff, which means I can't keep doing it the same way. I've got to come up with something new. I've got to show up for myself in some kind of new way. And then that Mars trining that Amazon to support that courage and initiative as you can see, Mercury between, right now as we're pre-recording this all the way through to prior to the full moon is doing a lot of work to get set up so that by the time it gets to Mercury, the square to Pluto, that's in what we call a last quarter square. That's a shift of consciousness that says, I'm going to start to see this in a new light. I'm going to start to have this discourse in a new light. I'm going to entertain a new conversation with myself, right? And by the way, Mercury in Scorpio has a great talent for zeroing in on what's important, on, I call it that kind of a master strategist archetype. Of course, we're uncovering things like betrayals and trust issues and looking at all that kind of dynamic. But Mercury in Scorpio and even Mars in Scorpio is really zeroing in on exactly what the target is so that we can do whatever that work is. So I love the position that Mercury is moving along. I think that this is very productive, and I have to say, with this full moon in Aries, just a couple of days before, it's like I have a list here. It's the first. We've got Mercury square Jupiter, and then we've got the Sun opposing Ceres, and then we've got Chiron opposing the Eris and the Chiron just over the first to the third, and then the moon goes into Pisces before this full moon, and forms a lovely water trine with Mars, with Jupiter, and so on. So we're going to see this full moon start to energize, the fourth, the fifth, before we get to the full moon in Aries. We will be primed for Moon in Aries, for some breaking some new ground for ourselves, right? I think that looks very dynamic.
Well, great. Yeah, a lot of pressure to make it so.
Hmm.
We do need a little pressure to make it dynamic and to make it so and to give it lift and to give our soul some energy. We need some pressure at times. Yeah, so this is October 6th. We don't have the date on this particular slide. So if you're wondering, wait, what's the date? So that's October 6th coming up here.
October 6th. Yeah. What's on our next slide? I've forgotten. Here. Oh, October.
Before we get to this, I just wanted to remind people because we had that list of all of the transits. Rose, you were talking about with eclipses, it's like a 6-month window of the themes that have arisen playing out. It doesn't mean that plenty can't happen now and right away, but we're working through things. I will remind everybody once again that Saturn, which rules reality, how we spend our time, how we structure our life, is in Pisces retrograde and will not re-enter Aries until February 14th next year. And it will not move in front of Neptune until February 20th. Things will
Hmm.
not be clear in some cases until then. And I would say, like, for an example, with these women that just got new jobs, maybe it will take till then for them to feel totally in charge of themselves in their new environment. I don't know. You've got to prove yourself and spend some time there and work on some projects before you know really where you stand. I'm using that as an example because something just literally happened for them, but they haven't spent time, Saturn, in those roles yet. And so if there's something that you're working on, working toward, and it's still another message of not forcing or rushing anything, to really allow yourself to relax into this window of time, to see the bigger picture. That's the gift of Pisces and Neptune, to see what it could be and to imagine more for yourself, but to not be in this grave hurry right now, if possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I said about the solar eclipse on the 21st, which was at the very last degree of Virgo with Saturn retrograde near the tail end of Pisces as well, too. And of course, that draws in the Neptune, but we've been moving from Saturn, Neptune in Aries and back to Pisces. So we have that angle going there, but especially with the eclipse, with Saturn being that in the strongest position. What I said about this eclipse is that it produces a time extension. So you may
Right.
be on a time delay. You have about a 6-month window through Saturn and Neptune forming new phase. They're on February 20th, and there will be eclipses in February as well too. I think it's a new moon at 28 degrees Aquarius, a solar eclipse in March sometime. That's going to be from now until then. It's a total immersion program. And I've said this previously about retrograde patterns, and especially with Pisces, because Pisces is about the variables and the potentials and all of that, nebulous kind of stuff. But when we have Neptune retrograde and Pisces retrograde, um, any retrograde planet is meant to get more specific and more pinpointed. When you've got Neptune retrograde and Neptune in Pisces retrograde, I mean, that'll happen later on in the month, the 21st or whatever it is there. We've got it coming up here. But that gets more pinpointed in the potentials. And between Aries and Pisces, this dominance between these planetary energies here, it's all about the experiential track. The experiential track is informing, just like you were talking about these two people here. It's not completely tested until we spend some time there.
Yeah.
Until we feel our way along. That's the Pisces thing. That's going to be informing. Still, with the nodal axis moving through Virgo Pisces, we're eliminating potentials that are not strong enough to be carried forward. We don't know that right now until we move through the period of time, till we live that out. And that's exactly what this Aries Pisces back and forth is creating for us. And really important, as you've said many times, take your time. When there's retrogrades, it's folly to rush or race. Now, on the other hand, when opportunities show up during this, you might be on this time delay. That eclipse might say, wait until spring. But if it pops up right now, like that job, take it, take the ball and run with it, right? So along the way, it's not that everything is canceled till spring,
No.
but you have to allow that floating or that kind of non-committal till it presents itself in some kind of dynamic way for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just getting really there's more footing, there's more uh the Saturn and Aries moving forward, there's something more predictable about the path. You can see things more clearly. There's less ebb and flow. There's more like, okay, this is what I'm looking at. This is what I've got in front of me. These are how I set my goals. This is what's realistic. But I'm really hoping too for people that it could be better than you thought it might be by giving it time or allowing more space for it to rise between now and
Absolutely.
then.
Absolutely. And isn't this lovely on the day on October 13 that Pluto stations direct in Aquarius? Oh, it's enough with this, 0, 1 degree, 0, 1 degree. Let's get moving here, Pluto.
Oh yeah, I love this chart. Yeah, I love this chart.
But look at this lovely, lovely trine that Venus is moved into Libra after Mercury has just done all of the work there to prep the stage for Venus to follow, and that lovely trine with Uranus in Aquarius.
Yeah, this grand trine is beautiful. I mean, Venus does move quickly, but Pluto and Uranus, they're locked in for a while. They're locked into this trine, and really Uranus wants to ensure that some kind of change for your soul will happen, to shake out any heavies and just to get the ball rolling. With Venus is about love and money, our relationships to people, to ourselves, but also what we value, our resources. It is in Libra, so it's very specific to relationships right now. But that Venus could land in your second house. And if it does, then it will be about, hey, wow, that person really sees me. Wow, they just offered me more than I thought I could get. Wow, these are big. This is a big hit. This is a big transit. It's a positive one. And so I love the looks of this. It is opposing Neptune, and I know what you're going to say about this.
Right. So we have a kite there.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, we didn't draw the kite. Kristen loves kites, but what is that about for you?
Well, I think that the Venus position to the Neptune, that's about feedback, right? So
Okay.
and I think
Yeah.
that that's about feedback that you're getting when you see your own reflection. right?
Mm,
That's the Aries piece of it,
yeah,
right?
sure.
Okay. So oftentimes other people see us better than we see ourselves,
Mm,
right?
hmm.
And in this moment, I think that opportunity is there. Of course, again, the Aries piece, that Neptune in Aries retrograde, that's about tuning in. And we've got Mars in Scorpio, and Mars is personal will. And when it's in Scorpio, that's tuning into the soul's will as well too, right? So we want to put those two on the same page. And Mars is progressively forming a trine to the North Node in Pisces, which brings us back to that Venus, to that Neptune, I meant to say, right? So it is offering us a lot. And this chart that you've drawn up, of course, we know that the moon moves quite fast. So the moon has just surpassed the Jupiter piece and on its way to making an opposition with Pluto as well, too, moving into Leo. And again, that is another statement in coming to consciousness about your own creative process.
Yeah, and beyond the Mars trining the North Node in Pisces, Mercury's moving quickly behind Mars and will step in front of Mars and also make that trine. I don't have the exact day, but that whole week from October 13th to the October 20th, I love that week for mobilization, for movement, for empowerment. Then Mars and Mercury will both progressively trine Jupiter, which is the planet of opportunity and growth and expansion. So if I sounded a little grumpy on the get-go, right at the get-go here, maybe, Kristin wasn't quite her Sagittarian self. I am very excited about the middle of October moving forward. The second 2 weeks of October I like a lot better than the beginning of this forecast. Although, there's some places that will be happy that we showed up for. So I do feel like there's some kind of reward energy that starts on the 13th of October.
Well,
Um,
and I'm not too I'm not too anxious about this 1st of October because I think we're all ready to get to work.
oh yeah,
Like I want to get those things fixed. I want to get on with those things that have been pending, all those things that I might have been putting off, all of that kind of energy. If you are ready to get to work, the stars over this first week or so are definitely supporting you, but I do agree. And by the way, Mercury moving in front of Mars is the 19th of October, and it's like a lovely run because that trine in water is lasting for a bit. It's not a fleeting thing. It's lasting for an extended period of time. So we have something really setting up. So I always say that don't waste your time. Do the work, and again, if you're uncertain or unclear or so on, that's fine. Leave that stuff just sit, but go on to the things that that you can take care of, clean up what you can, do whatever is going to help you to clear off your desk and get ready for next, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Right. So not only do Mars and Mercury trine the North Node and eventually trine Jupiter, they will trine Saturn as well. So that
Yes.
takes us all the way, and we will talk about this at the new moon chart, but that takes, I mean, October is really truly from the 13th moving forward. The
Oh,
key
I've
is,
got, yeah, the really, really, really nice run from the 22nd to the 27th. And really, we could take it further, but, and that's just the start of the trine aspects. They're going to move into November as well, too.
yeah.
Yeah. And here's October 21st, the new moon, 28 degrees of Libra. And what have we going in this chart?
That, I mean, that does look sweet. And also, we've got Mars and Mercury in a new phase. You mentioned on the 19th that happens, but look at that. That's got a lot of firepower there. Like that's energizing. It's deep, it's involved, it is still creative, but it's not surface creative, it's soul creative, right? It's deeper content,
Mhm.
I would say. And wow, that is a springboard day if I've ever seen one. And like you said, Mercury and Mars, I mean, they're just catching fire at that point, and they're
Mhm.
going to progress on to form a trine to that Saturn and grand trine with Jupiter and Saturn. Ooh, that looks sweet. I mean,
Oh, and
that's something not light and passing. It's something sustainable.
now, I have to say something here, um, because this 20 degrees Scorpio is also important because we haven't mentioned this yet, but we are going to have another Mercury retrograde, which comes up in November. It starts at 6 degrees of Sagittarius and will back down when Mercury stations direct. It will be at 20 degrees Scorpio.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Did you
Right.
just find that? What day is that?
And let me see. I have to look at my book because I don't remember offhand. Let me see. It turns retrograde on the 9th of November and backs into Scorpio on the 20th of November and ends retrograde on the 29th of November and hits that 20 degrees from about the 27th of November through until December 1st, because when Mercury is stationing any planet turning direction, it's slow in its orbit and then picks up speed. So we have an extension of that 20 degrees, which is fascinating. And I'm glad you put this in the chart as well, too, because Juno is sitting here at 6 degrees of Sagittarius. And that is the degree that Mercury turns retrograde at. And whenever I look at Juno, Juno is a contract asteroid. So it deals with all contracts. What kind of contracts have you made, whether they are, signing a lease or making an agreement with yourself, right? Whether that's a soul contract or, something lighter. I promised myself I was going to get started here or there, whatever that might be. So that is really interesting because it has a suggestion. Again, Mercury is the ruler of the South Node, that we're moving through a real potent Mercury retrograde period. And that Mercury retrograde, of course, retrogrades are always revisit, right? So that's a really important time for revisiting something that is really key to where you are going next, what the direction forward is, right? Between
Yeah.
Sagittarius and Scorpio. So very, very interesting. And again, those aspects are forming a trine in water with Jupiter and Saturn.
Wow. That's awesome. I imagine that people might get some news on that new moon or around that new moon or a new connection, a new relationship, somebody that can connect you to somebody that helps you in some way. And then it circles back the end of November. There's something linked with,
Mhm,
obviously, with those degrees, Rose, with October
mhm.
21st and the end of November. Those, pay attention to those two dates. And then when does Mercury clear the shadow of that retrograde?
Oh, it's like about yeah, where is that? I think,
Middle of December
yeah, like about the 16th, 17th of December. When's your birthday?
or the 4th?
On the 4th. Oh, okay. So that'll be through
It is.
that, right? But yeah, and with Mercury retrograde, we do watch the travel of Mercury. So we watch what we call the pre and post shadows, and sometimes they can be quite significant in terms of whatever that process is that we're working through. But I think this one has got a little bit more pop to it because of as we can see the dynamics of how the retrograde is set up with the rest of the planetary deck here.
Let's talk briefly about orbs of influence, for example. Like uh, we usually use like a 3 to 5 degree orb. You can see with Mars and Mercury at 20 Scorpio, they're within 3 degrees of a trine to the North Node, right? So that's already activating the Saturn beside it. It's
Mhm.
within 4 degrees of the trine to Jupiter at the top of the chart. So it's those that's all active. And the trine to Saturn, it's something gets unearthed, the opportunity shows up, the door opens, and by the time Mars and Mercury, especially Mars trine Saturn, you're like, wow, this is real. This is not my imagination. This thing is going to really happen. Let's imagine somebody's on a first date with somebody and they're like, wow, I really like this person, right? And they're like, meh, we'll see how it goes. And maybe there's a second or a third date. And by the time Mars trines Saturn, you're like, wow, this person really likes me too. It does feel mutual. So that's how I see that Mars trying to that Saturn.
Right. That's really interesting. I just noticed on this new moon, I have to say that the position of Vesta is squaring the nodes at that time as well too, right?
Wow.
So that is fascinating as well too, because Vesta is really where, what's at the hearth of your soul. You know,
Oh,
it's really how it's really what's authentic for you. Being in the
right.
sign of Sagittarius, bringing us up to that Jupiter, how are you feeding and nurturing yourself? And whenever planet by transit is squaring the nodes, it's a crossroads time for figuring it out, right?
Yeah, and I would say too, back on my, I of course I get plenty of clients asking me, when am I going to find my soulmate? All that. And so I would say too that the Vesta square to the nodes is like, does this soul that I'm sitting across the table from it, do they nurture my essence? Do
Hmm.
they align with my nature? Do we like the same things? And so it is really that question of wanting to be in touch with yourself and with others in a way that supports what nurtures you and what supports your nature ultimately.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I just think the movement of that Venus, again, Venus is an archetype of magnetic attraction, right?
Mm, very much.
So in Libra, this new moon, the way all this is set up for an attractive phase for calling forth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. I'm
Well,
looking
I'm
forward to
excited
seeing
about
how we
this.
make it through the month.
Hopefully, we'll have some good stories the end of October for our next show.
Yeah. What do we have next on our page here? Oh,
Hmm.
okay. Did you
Okay, so I'm going to share another passage from The Prophetess by Shalon Harkin. It is the return of the divine feminine, or the return of the prophet from the voice of the divine feminine. And she speaks about joy. The deepest hope of happiness is no need, no reason for itself. You're just happy because, right? That's nice. The deepest hope of happiness is to need no reason for itself, to wake up just happy. But if you do need a reason to allow yourself this most natural gift, let it be because birds throw themselves into the sky like a handful of winged seeds to go pollinate the south with music. Let it be that each evening the sun creates a symphony of color, and the tones of your heart have the palette to match it. Let it be because let it be because you have two hands that can hold another's soft-faced and magical eyes with black holes in the middle of them that spend their whole lives pulling in all light and beauty. Let it be because even the winter snag is shimmering with secret promise, and if you look with clear eyes, you can see a hint of its hidden fruits. Every bucket of your darkness is alchemized into wisdom simply by handing it to light. When we were born, we are given an automatically refillable bag of jewels called a soul that we can share with any living thing to make it sparkle and sing. Joy is your essence and your birthright. Every beauty leaps from the spring of your open heart. All creation is made to laugh with you.
Terrific. There's so many jewels in that. It's almost, I want you to read it again.
You
I'll
can just
listen
hit
to the
pause and
replay.
rewind. Yeah, I mean, every line is a jewel in this book.
Mm,
Every line makes me feel something. And I think, in order to experience joy, we have to feel something. We don't
mm,
think joy into being, we feel it into being. And as she mentioned, I mean, it does require an open heart to experience it. And sometimes it takes extending your hand or offering a hug, even when you're not feeling joyful, and that will open your heart to allow it in. So there's so much joy coming. I'm certain of it. The second 2 weeks of October, right? Or on the, well, start today. Every day can be joyful. We don't need a reason for it, as she started with so beautifully. I had to read that twice. But it is
Mhm.
true to wake up joyful, not needing a reason to feel that way. Just being alive gives you reason enough. Just the birds singing, just the sun setting is enough.
I think that that
Um,
is such a terrific message right now, because with the Virgo, we're just coming out of the month of Virgo, and the Virgo energies that we have, and so on. It's so easy to get distracted by all of the problems of the world and all the problems of the day as well, too. And sometimes when I get really frantic because life is too much, just that stop for whatever it is that gives you joy. Simplicity, right? Do something just really very basic that
mhm.
puts a smile on your face or that allows you to breathe, you know
Yeah.
and how that can shift you and
Hmm.
therefore shift everything around you.
Well, it changes everything.
Changes
Right.
everything.
Sure does.
Yeah.
All right. Well, by the
Yeah.
time we come back together, Rose, the conference will have finished, I think,
Oh
or maybe we'll
goodness.
be in the middle of it. I'm not quite sure. But once again, everybody, jwgaea.org, if you want to join us at the conference, and Love 10% off right now if you want to take advantage of that. But look at all these beautiful, shiny, happy faces
I
of our
look
incredible community. So, all right. Thank you so much, Rose. Any last thoughts? I think you did close it beautifully to remind
Uh,
people.
yeah, I think that October to 23rd to 26th fits right into a beautiful batch of stars right there. So I expect that everyone who does sign up for the conference will really soak it in and feel that sustenance that we aim to provide for you. And I just wanted to remind, just because I've got it here, it's the first to the seventh or eighth is a cycle. The 11th to the 14th is a cycle. 16th to the 19th. We have actionable on the 22nd to the 27th as well too. So those are pockets of time when once you get started, you're going to find that you're moving through a lot over those particular days. And wish everybody the best and carry on.
Namaste.